Hi, I'm Andrea McLean.
I am Mirila Suda.
And welcome to The Agenda, where today we're going to be discussing being fabulous at 50 and beyond. And we have a great panel lined up, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. What a great topic and what a great panel. Let me introduce you with the panelist. Rosemary Reed is a great friend, but in the same time, the CEO of POW Studios. Welcome, Rosemary, to our podcast show. And from New York, we have Patricia Roberts, who traveled, and she is the Chief Operator Officer. We'll tell a little bit more about you later. And another friend who doesn't travel that far, but coming here in our studio show from London, Tayyaba Jordon. Welcome. Tayyaba, in the same time, is the peak performance coach. It's so great to have you here, Tayyaba.
Thank you. Do you know what I love about today's conversation is looking at us, you wouldn't know we're all over 50. The whole idea of what 50 looks like has absolutely transformed over the years. If you think back to the Golden Girls, you know, the series in the 80s.
I saw that recently.
When you think that those women that we thought of way back then in the day, they were old ladies all living together sharing a house, they were our age.
Well, they were actually in their 40s, late 40s, one of them.
Yeah.
You know, look at the difference, the hair, the perm, the grey. It was, we've changed a lot, haven't we?
No, most people would say that that's a positive, the fact that we are more dynamic, we're fitter, we're stronger, we're living longer. Could we for a moment flip that on its head and say actually it's put more pressure on us?
I don't think so, actually. I feel quite the opposite. Mm-hmm. I think I embrace getting older, and for me now, being the age I am, which is coming up to 60, I feel more in control of my life, happier. I'm doing much more than I've ever done, more confident, and no, I don't have any pressure on me at all. Quite the opposite.
Wonderful.
I love that, because I remember when my mom hit 40, from that age, she just kept saying over and over again, I'm older now, I'm elderly woman, I'm elderly woman. And it gave me the impression, when I'm 40, I'm going to be the same. So I would like to ask you, Patricia, what age means for you?
Wow, age, first of all, means something to be grateful for, because the fact that we are aging means we are alive and we are continuing to live each and every day. What else does aging mean? It means that we have developed skills and knowledge and confidence that we didn't have before. And aging in that respect makes me so happy. I've never been happier than being 50 and beyond, and quite fabulous. It feels great.
And Tayyaba, as a peak performance coach, what impact does age have in terms of the energy, the impact that women want to make once they hit that age of 40 and 50 and beyond?
What I've noticed in my practice is that most women who are, at the top of their career tend to make sure that they have enough energy, and I'm surrounded by a lot of very determined, very kind of ambitious women who don't see that number as a restriction or as a label. I think that 50 is like the new 40. I certainly can still do a cartwheel, headstand, handstand. I really pride myself in, my children are young, I guess, for my age, and I make sure that I keep up with them. So for me and the people that I work with, it's just a number, and it really hasn't got in the way. And I think there are so many other things that we focus on when I'm working with the clients I work with. The number is in the background.
I'm 55 very soon, in a number of weeks, and I'm really happy to say how old I am, because it's just a fact. It's just a number, and I've always found it really funny, especially working in this sort of celebrity world, when women would take a few years off, because I always felt like that was the wrong way round. Because surely you want to put a few years on, and then people think you look great for your age, rather than knocking a few years off and they think you look really old for an age that you've given. I mean, I remember one news presenter I worked with for many years was 38. She was not 38. And they got to a point where we were all thinking, she's going to have to tell people she is not 38.
How old was she?
She was in her 50s by the time she realized that she'd have to now say maybe mid-40s at some point. So, again, how do you think we address this idea of stigma when it comes to just saying how old we are? In some instances, it's not something that we can do. In some instances, there's discrimination. It works against us for saying how old we are.
And the question here is that why women usually tend to hide their age And how can we shift that? Is it because of the stigma, or is it because of the way we grow up, or is it because of lack of confidence or lack of self-esteem? So what do you think, Rosemary?
I think there was the Me Too and the glass ceiling, but there is the age ceiling, and that has been smashed down. I've seen, I don't know if you have seen in the last few years, particularly with so many influencers hitting 50 that were very glamorous women, and they're thinking, I'm not finished now just because I'm 50. And there's so many opportunities for women. I mean, at 50, you said is the new 50 is 40, but I don't even see it like that. I think that I know I'm a lot healthier than when I was 35 and I was coming home at 3 and 4 in the morning. I'm very healthy. I take vitamins B12, vitamin D, obviously my energy levels. But I do think social media has had a very big impact on how women of a certain age are engaging and saying, well, she looks great. What's she taking? I can look great. Because if you think the average age of a woman in the 50s and 60s was 58, now it's 85. So we are living an extra 30 years on this planet. So what are we going to do? Sit at home with a shawl around us, or are we going to just look glamorous and go out and have a good time?
And Rosemary, you also are inspired by all what you just said to start a new movement, a new campaign for women over 50. Can you tell us a little bit more about this massive project that you just started with Primetime?
Well, it's a new show which we're doing, and it's 8 episodes. It's taking women, 7 women actually, one is a pilot episode, but 8 episodes, and it's taking these women who have really lost themselves, 45 plus, but it's mainly 50-year-old women, and we're completely taking them and rebooting them with confidence, not just giving them veneers or doing their hair or fancy clothes or whatever, and then the production company goes away and that's the end of it. We're actually helping these women through the help of dragons. To every episode we'll have a different dragon, giving that woman who has no real opportunity to be given an investment to start. One of them is an incredible woman who's very well known. I can't say her name at the moment, but she's actually given the first woman an infusion of money to start her own beauty bar. And that's what we want to do. I want to see women over, you just said about the empty nest syndrome. For me, you should be out there at 50 running companies, starting your own company, doing all these things. Why? One reason why? Because men.
Well, men and babies, I know.
Men, yeah.
Men, exactly. But the thing, I think the stages that we go through is, I remember in my 20s and 30s, I was so ambitious. There was nothing that was going to hold me back. I was working in TV, I was a set designer, I wanted to get up the ladder, I wanted to do the best shows, I was like getting up and up and up and up. And then I had my first baby. And the whole thing about having a baby and the kind of stigma in television, particularly, to go, I hid it. Obviously I was working till I was 38 weeks, but in fact 39 weeks, but I sort of then didn't mention that I had a child, because it was just it being a freelance industry, it was really hard to go back. So there's that stage, and then I think you have your children, and then you have a bit of space where you think, actually I'd like to rediscover who I am, having gone through what I have. And then, you're sort of more inclined to just do the things that you really want to do. And then there's the further stage of the empty nester, where you sort of think about what else, what level can I go to now? So I think there's different stages.
What impact has becoming a recent empty nester had on you?
Mixed feelings about it. Of course, we raise our children to be independent. In my case, with my son, to graduate debt-free, so he had the financial freedom to get out on his own, right? To travel the world, to begin saving for retirement, maybe save for a first home as well. That feels great. It also feels a bit lonely, particularly as somebody living on my own now. My tech support is gone. He was very helpful when I was about to go on a Zoom call and something froze, or whatever the case may be, the Excel spreadsheet, but he's very close by and I get him by phone. What's really special about now being on my own and having launched a child into this world successfully is that I can take those exceptional caregiving skills that I applied toward him, toward my mom in her final days, toward my brother who's disabled, and now utilize them for me, to care for me. I've never thought about it. I've been on the back burner most of my life caring for everyone else. Now I've got everything I need right now to start taking better care of myself, to start pursuing what interests me most. And it's so satisfying. It is a time of rediscovery. I love it.
Did you take stock and think, I've been doing this for so long. Actually, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take a 90-degree turn and do something completely different.
You know, it's not that I thought I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't have to do it anymore. My mom has now passed on and my son is launched. I do still have some responsibility for my brother who has a disability, but those responsibilities are more limited. I really took it as an opportunity to take a good look at the commitments I was following through on for everyone else all those years. And in fact, I decided to put a ring on it and make a commitment to myself. Promises to myself about how I want my future to look. And this ring symbolizes it, because I know we sometimes await marriage or whatever it is for us to commit to another person. I've now committed to myself that this next phase of my journey is going to be about me, and I'm so excited about it.
And taking
Incredible.
the point that Tayyaba brought as well, connected with everything that you just shared, it's so important to realize that we women have so many commitments to, especially when we start, we have lots of dreams. As young girls, we have dreams, and we think we are going to change the world, and then we have to take about babies and the family and all the relatives and all the programming that we had to take care of everybody and put ourselves at the bottom. But at some point, from my side, it felt like when I moved here in this country as a single mother, I didn't have any support to take care, to follow my career, or to be a breadwinner, but to provide food for my son, and also to make sure that he has a mama, and I was the only parent. But it took me for him to be 18, and I can't tell how I felt that day when I gave myself the permission to leave him alone. I gave myself the permission to start traveling. From that point, maybe people who know me, it felt like I never stopped. I started traveling in every country. I started seeing myself unstoppable. And I started also asking other women, how do they feel when they see that liberation and they don't have that commitment? Because, of course, our children, we want them to be connected with them all the time. But you know what I got as a feedback? It's like, our children are grown up, but we're still young. And what do we do now? We're not getting retired. So it's like we feel the best moment in our life because we have the experience, we have the maturity, we have done lots of mistakes, we have got the lessons. So how we're going to utilize, Rosemary, from your angle, how are you going to utilize all of these concepts in the phenomenon of the prime time, when you see the women, they have so many skills and they have reached the prime time where they can give back instead?
If you think about it, though, there is only really the last 3 decades that women have really come on to to think, I'm not finished at 50, and I'm not able to retire at 55. It's going up to 70 something next year. So we're kind of on new territory, new ground. And that is why I think that social media, even though it can be a dark energy and a really light one, but I do think social media, with women being able to come together wherever they live in the world, they can share their diet, they can share their marital problems, divorce, all of the things that you couldn't really do. You had a very tight community before, and now people can share that. Women can share. And I think that has changed things dramatically for me. It's encouraging women to do courses on, like with Global Women, to come and take a new career. And I think that's what the internet has been very positive for.
Do you know, it's been well documented but not necessarily well spoken about in the fact that the impact of social media and the internet actually on our well-being has overall been good, because now we have access to information and we have access to seeing people living other kind of lives that we ourselves could maybe never have dreamt. And if you can't see it, you can't become it. And we are the first generation coming through of this age who are now seeing other women thinking, actually you're absolutely, I can see it and I can
see it's
be
to
it.
be it, really, isn't it? And also it gives tips on the, I don't say this on social media, for maybe some treatments are out of the average person's, capacity of affording, but they can make it work for their own budgets. I actually feel that the Instagram and other social media platforms have changed everything of how we live. There's no going back now.
And as a result of that, not only on myself, but many women that are the same age as me, I notice that they look much better and younger
and powerful
than they looked like 10 years ago. And what do you think, what's the reason that we women have come to a place where in fact we do not only overcome the age, but we look better than we were before?
I think we're looking after ourselves better, like Rosemary.
100%, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I think it is to do with that. I think you're absolutely right. There is kind of a permission that we get when we are seeing other women on the internet who are, of similar ages or 50 and over, doing the things that we feel like we want to do. Because often what's happening is, some people say to you, you're only as old as you feel. I still feel 27, and I still think like a 27, 28-year-old, which is fun. But it's not. There's not always been the space for that kind of behaviour or fun, like the bars and the places to go. And I think it has been great to have that kind of permission given. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet, so I just want to also just give that the flip side of that. So there's also a lot of women that look like they are super young, but they're not. But there's enough out there for a little bit for everyone.
But also the great thing I think about particularly Instagram is that you can follow who you like, unfollow and mute and block who you don't like. So therefore your feed can be something that is really positive and reaffirming and everything else. And you can remove something that isn't serving you in a way that perhaps a news outlet isn't, because you can't control what a news outlet is going to be, bombarding you with. For me, in terms of aging, I have loved every age that I've been.
Yeah, so
I've never ever thought, oh, I can't wait to be 20, or I can't wait to be 30, or oh my God, I'm 40. I've just really loved where I am.
Yeah, me too. And actually, my parties have got better and better. So 30, I couldn't afford quite what I wanted to do, and at 40, I was somewhere really nice. 50, I went all out. I mean, I had a great party, and I stayed in a lovely hotel, and I only had the people there that I wanted to be there.
Yeah, that's
I didn't care anymore that such and such was going to get upset and so wasn't. And that's the other thing about aging, which is really, really lovely. You just kind of go, I want to be surrounded by the people that I really love, the people that I really like, and that I want to be with on my 50th birthday. And it was
and
fabulous.
not only that, because as you get older, you build your confidence, but you have more knowledge, and you know how to live your life healthy.
Yes.
So one is how you dress up. For example, I remember the way I dressed up before. I was telling Andrea, I had a friend when I was 30 years old, around 30. I was dressing up like a really elderly woman, and always she used to make fun of me and said, can you save this dress when I get old? Because I may need this one. So it was that bad. Now, always refer a very famous quote from Coco Chanel. She used to say, there are no ugly women, there are lazy women. Honestly, I was lazy. I was lazy to do my hair. I was lazy to go and do shopping. I was lazy to do and take care of myself. I'm not lazy anymore. No. So what do you think about that?
I think you look better now than you did 5 years
ago. 100%.
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you do, absolutely. I know you.
Yeah.
I know you for a while now, and we're getting better and better.
I think so, and I think we could all either channel our Chanel, which is quite hard to say, or our Cher. I remember when Cher was in concert recently. She was over in London, and she came on stage in one of her fabulous outfits, and the first thing she said was, "What's your grandma doing tonight?" And the place erupted. And I think there have always been people throughout the generations who've kind of led the way in terms of throwing out the window any idea that you need to conform to whatever age has decided for you, perhaps even what gender has decided for you, what class, what society has decided is where you should be. And actually, I think by the time we get to our 50s, we're in a place where we think we don't care anymore.
No, that's very true. You said about your parties.
Yeah.
You invite who makes you happy, not
Absolutely.
who you want to impress.
Yeah.
You stop wanting to impress people.
Yeah.
That's very...
And what's the message
true.
we're conveying to people who are not 50 yet? Are we going to tell them, don't wait to be 50 to enjoy your life?
I think enjoy every chapter,
Yeah,
every
agree.
act, because it's all... and don't think, oh, I'm going to be 50. What am I going to do? Nobody will find me attractive. Nobody will, I won't get a job. That's absolute nonsense.
It is.
Absolute nonsense.
I think it's tremendous role modeling for our children and for other younger people to see us pursuing what brings us joy. I think that's why we're looking better. We feel better on the inside, and it shows. We've stepped off of the sidelines into the light at last, some of us, no longer as encumbered as we had been by either people's opinions or limitations we had placed on ourselves, or those very practical commitments that we carried through the years. So I think feeling good on the inside, surrounding us by people who we admire, and doing what we love is really tremendously valuable, not just for ourselves, but for the children we created and launched, and for others to watch too. I have a friend who's in her 80s, who's my walking partner some nights back in Brooklyn Heights. We go for walks together. She's still employed, actively creating puzzles and other things that she does for a living. And I'm so inspired by her. She's in terrific shape, and she's my friend. So that's giving me an idea, a vision of what life could be in my 80s.
Yeah, I've got a neighbour who's 60, and it really pains me that she's definitely fitter than I am. You know, when we go on walks together, we're going up hills and she's talking, and I'm, you know, and I think it is inspiring to see women just holding their energy.
What you said about the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how women of that age now look? Yeah. That's why with the young girls today, can you imagine their mindset, what it will be like in 20 years' time?
Massive
if
revolution.
We're completely, there'll be none of this, hopefully.
Brilliant.
Ageism.
Hopefully. Well, we'll be back here in 20 years' time to have that conversation.
Oh, definitely.
I hope. That's such a great place to end. Thank you so much, all of you. What a romp through the 50s. That was romp.
Good.
Thank you, Tayyaba. Thank you,
everybody.
Patricia.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Rosemary.